doing? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Yes, so we're going to be reviewing chapter 9 of part 3, which says what everybody wants. What does everybody want? You are most welcome to another exciting review of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Yes, we're drawing closer to the end of this book, but it has been an interesting read. So, chapter 9 says what everybody wants. Let me start by asking you the question that the author asked here. He says, wouldn't you like to have a magic phrase that would stop arguments, eliminate ill feeling, create goodwill, and make the other person listen attentively? Wouldn't you like to have that phrase, right? And what is that phrase? It goes something like this. I don't blame you. I don't blame you one iota for feeling as you do. If I were you, I would undoubtedly feel just as you do. If you say this to people, it is very likely that you will stop every rage, rancor, fighting, arguments that may be going on, right? Because this answer will soften the most cankerous old curse alive. And you can say it sincerely, like, oh, I don't blame you. If I were in your shoes, I would do the same thing. If I were in your shoes, in fact, I'll be angrier than this. And people will see that, oh, she actually put himself or herself in my shoes, right? So what does people want? They want sympathy. Sympathy. 3/4 of the people you will ever meet are hungering and thirsty for sympathy. Give it to them and they will love you. Just show sympathy. Show that you can relate with what they are going through. And if you were in your shoes, you would do exactly what they are doing, right? And one thing you have to realize is that you can say this with all sincerity, because truly, you cannot take credit for all that you are today. You cannot take credit for the good person that you have turned out to be. Maybe you can take some credit, but not all, right? But there are some things that are not within your control that you cannot take credit for, like the blessing of God, the family that you are born into, the fact that you have some opportunities come your way, opportunities that some people will long for till they die. God just brings it your way. The fact that you have food on your table, that you have good health, right? Because sometimes these are the things that make people just want sympathy. Somebody that is not feeling well, the person comes to you and is like, I cannot come to work for the next 3 days because I'm not feeling well. What the person needs at that time is not, why won't you come to work? I'm going to slash your salary and all of that. Even before you give the verdict for their action, sympathize with them, pity them. Pity them. That is it. The author says, feel sorry for the poor devils. Pity them, sympathize with them. Say to yourself, dear, but if not for the grace of God, I also wouldn't be where I am today. It doesn't mean that they will not take discipline or punishment if they have done something wrong. It doesn't mean that you will dance to their tune. It doesn't mean that you will give them whatever they ask for, even when you know that giving them is wrong. No. What we're saying is that before you give that brutal truth, before you give that brutal verdict, sympathize with them first. Let them know that you kind of understand what they're going through. You kind of we can relate in a way and all of that, right? There was a woman that wrote a stinker to Dale Carnegie some time ago. Why? Because he had said something, he had given a wrong information about the author of Little Women, Louisa May Alcott. Instead of saying that Louisa was from Concord, Massachusetts, she said that, no, instead of saying that, yes, from Concord, Massachusetts, she said that she was from Concord, New Hampshire. And people were so angry. How can you make such a mistake? What an error. They hurled insults at him and all of that. But there was this particular woman, a dame, who wrote a stinker of a letter. It was terrible. And when he read that letter, the first thing he said was, oh, thank God I'm not married to this woman, because I can only imagine I would have been receiving this kind of insults every day. So the first instinct that he had was to reply this woman with another stinker, right? But he said no, he wouldn't do that. Instead, he decided to turn her hostility into friendliness, right? It was a challenge, it was not easy and all of that, but he decided to do it. And then he wrote the woman the letter, called her on telephone, actually called her on telephone. And the conversation goes something like this. I'll just paraphrase. He said, "Oh, Mrs. So-and-so, you wrote me a letter a few weeks ago, and I want to thank you for it." Even sorry, my line was reconnecting there for a moment. So he said, "Oh, I want to thank you for it." Right? I'm back online. And the man said, "Oh, to whom do I have the honor of speaking?" And he said, "Oh, I'm a stranger to you. My name is Dale Carnegie. You listened to my podcast I gave about Louisa May Alcott a few Sundays ago. And I made the unforgivable blunder of saying that she had lived in Concord, New Hampshire. It was a stupid blunder and I want to apologize for it. It was so nice of you to take the time to write me." And the woman said, "No, I am so sorry, Mr. Carnegie, that I wrote as I did. I lost my temper. I must apologize." So now she is apologizing because Mr. Carnegie had applied wisdom in addressing her. And Mr. Carnegie said, "No, no, 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 you are not the one to apologize. I am. Any school child would have known better than to have said what I said. I apologize over the air the following Sunday, and I want to apologize to you personally now." The woman said, "Oh, I was born in Concord, Massachusetts. My family has been prominent in Massachusetts affairs for 2 centuries, and I am very proud of my native state. I was really quite distressed to hear you say that Miss Alcott had lived in New Hampshire, but I am really ashamed of that letter." And Mr. Carnegie said, I assure you that you were not 1/10 as distressed as I am. My error didn't hurt Massachusetts, but it did hurt me. It is so seldom that people of your standing and culture take time to write people who speak on the radio. And I do hope you will write again if you detect an error in my talks. And the woman said, I really like very much the way you have accepted my criticism. You must be a very nice person. I should like to know you better. I ended up reading everything. Right. Look at the way he turned the entire situation around. Something that would have become messy. If it's you, you'd have given it to her back to back. Hot. Like, come. I have your response. Come and receive your response. You think you are the only one, that can insult. Come here. I also have your response. Many of us would have done that, right? I'm sure he was also tempted to do that. So this is where we have to learn. This is where we have to be conscious of all these things that we are learning. I said yesterday of how I would have also sent a stinker of a message to a particular group where I belong, for something that they did wrong. But twice I typed the message, I deleted it because I just kept on saying to myself, let me not do something that I'm going to regret. And I thank God that I did. Right. So because she apologized and sympathized with her point of view, she began apologizing and sympathizing with his own point of view, with Mr. Carnegie's point of view. And he had the satisfaction of controlling his temper. Sometimes if you can escape that temptation and you don't unleash your anger, when you are now calm and settled, you'll be happy that you did not act in anger. You'll be so thankful that, thank God you exercised self-control. That is the way it is. You have the satisfaction of returning kindness for an insult. And you make more fun. You have more fun, telling her in all sincerity and politeness that you are sorry, than when you'd have told her that she can go and jump into the river. She can go and hug transformer. If you don't like what I did, go and hug transformer, something like that. So every man who occupies the White House. Okay, this is another story from President Taft and everything. I'm just going to paraphrase, right? So there was this woman who came to him when he was president of the United States. And the woman wanted him, the president, to give her son an appointment. But her son was not really qualified for this appointment because there was a recommendation from the head of bureau that somebody else was more qualified, right? So they did not give this woman's son the appointment, and the woman wrote a letter saying that, oh, you are very ungrateful. We helped you with this. We helped you during this period. We did that. We sent delegation. We did all of that and all of that, you know. And President has said, when you receive a letter like that, the first thing you want to do is to give the person back in his or her own coin. Pay the person back in his or her own coin, you know, word for word and everything. Just give it back to the person hot. But no, he decided to take a 2-day break. Put the letter in a drawer, locked the drawer for 2 days, and then came back after 2 days. And of course, his anger had subsided. He had the time to think about it and blah, blah. So when he sat down, he decided to reply this woman, and then he wrote a very polite letter, using polite words, sympathizing with her, that he actually understands, you know, why she's disappointed as a mother and all of that, you know, but he had to select a man with technical qualifications. You know, he had to follow the recommendations of the head of bureau, and it was not within his power to have made the decision to give her son the appointment and blah, 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 blah. So this pacified her a little bit. But after a while, I think some days later, this woman, not this woman this time, here is the trick. A letter came supposedly from the husband of this woman, but it was in the same handwriting as the previous letters. So meaning that somehow this woman had written this letter disguising as her husband, right? So the husband's letter was like, oh, because of the disappointment that this woman suffered because her son was not able to get the appointment, she has now developed stomach ulcer. Please, can you remove the name of the person that you have already appointed and put the name of her son? That will make her feel better. I thought it's only in Nigeria we do all of this. Well, I've always known it's not only in Nigeria, so there's no case there. So it's like, can you remove the name of this person and put her son's name so that she will feel better, so that she will be well? And Mr. Taff said, oh, I sympathize with her, you know, said all the words of sympathy, and said, I really hope that the diagnosis will be inaccurate, knowing fully well that there is a trick here. And he made it clear that, oh, he cannot do that and all of that. The appointment has been confirmed and things like that. Guess who came to visit him? President Taft and his wife. It was this woman and her husband. So she didn't have any stomach ulcer. She was just looking for ways to manipulate the president, right? So everybody wants sympathy. And I think there is a reason why the author did not use empathy here, right? As in, just pity them. Pity. That's it, pity. The reason why somebody will tell you details of the surgery they went through, or the accident they had, or how they were broke for so many years, or how this happened to them, how their family went through misfortune, is because they want to curry your sympathy. They want you to pity them. Yeah, oh, and that will make them feel good in a way. It's not everybody do. Me, I don't like people pitying me. I don't like people pitying me. No. I don't wallow in self-pity, and I don't want pity from anybody. But the author has said 3/4 of the people you meet. So a lot of people want it, right? Even if it's not pity directly like that, but that you can even relate with them. I think we all want that. That, oh, I understand you. I sincerely understand how you feel. You know, everybody wants that. When you're able to put yourself in their shoes. So sympathy or empathy, they really want you to identify with what they are going through, right? And that is what people want. And there is one story that I'm going to read here. It's about a piano teacher who wanted to teach a lady, Babette, piano. But this lady had very long nails, and she wanted to learn the piano. We all know that if you want to learn the piano, your nails must be trimmed. Otherwise, you will not be able to press the keys easily, and that can impact how you learn. So this teacher did not tell Babette to cut her nails or do anything like that. She didn't mention anything. She had the first lesson with her, and at the end of the first lesson, you know, she felt that the time was right, and she said to her, Babette, you have attractive hands and beautiful fingernails. If you want to play the piano as well as you're capable of, and as well as you would like to, you would be surprised how much quicker and easier it would be for you if you would trim your nails shorter. Just think about it, okay? So Babette gave a negative face, like, so she told Babette's mother to also talk to her to trim her nails. Of course, it was a negative reaction from the mother as well. But to her surprise, at the next lesson, she found that Babette had cut her nails. And she went to thank the mother that, oh, thank you for talking to her. Thank you for having such an influence on her. And the mother said, no, I didn't even have any influence. I didn't have a say. She just did it on her own accord. So there is a way to make people, do what we want them to do, cooperate with us, give us what we want by you giving them what they want. Talk to them in a polite manner, in soft tones. Let them know that you understand their point of view. That is the only way they will understand your own point of view. But to want to lord it over people, you don't have all those polite words. You need to have them. There are some other stories here that I will not be able to go through. But a man also used this strategy to make a hotel manager, to agree to his proposal to shut down the elevator for 8 hours. Even when the hotel manager was like, oh, it's too long, I can't even shut it down for 2 hours. I don't want to put my guest through any inconvenience. And he came and said, oh, I understand you. I understand that you don't want to put your guest through any inconvenience, But the thing is, it is better we shut it down for 8 hours than to have to shut it down for several days. Because if we don't fix this problem now, bigger problems will develop, and it can be more damaging and things like that. Who would hear that and not want to do what you want? But if you can say, hey, if you don't shut it down, don't shut it down, that's it, it's your own. No. Even if the person later realizes it, that they would have allowed you, they may go and call somebody else to come and do it, because you have bruised their ego. You have embarrassed them. You have trampled on their personality. Right. So there are tricks to this thing. I know that it's not easy, but we just have to keep doing it. Lastly, the story I'm going to share is about a guy who was managing artists, right? He had this particular artist who was like a spoilt brat. According to this guy, he was a hell of a fellow in every way. Imagine having to manage somebody like that. Anytime this guy is supposed to sing, maybe they have a show, he ought to perform, he will just come up with one excuse or the other. Oh, I have sore throat, I cannot sing today, I can't do this, And the manager would tell him in low tone, oh, what a pity, my poor fellow. Of course you cannot sing. I will cancel the engagement at once. It will only cost you a couple of $1,000s. But that is nothing in comparison to your reputation. And this man, upon hearing, cancel $1,000, will be like, perhaps you had better come over later in the day. Come at 5 and see how I feel. He doesn't want the show to be cancelled. He doesn't want the money to just go like that. So this guy will come back at 5 and he'll be like, oh, and again, he will go to his hotel at 5, dripping with sympathy and everything. And he will say, oh, maybe we should cancel the show. Your reputation is more important. Your health is more important and all of that. And this guy will say, no, you had better come back at 7 to see if I feel better. And eventually, he would go and perform. Right. So people just want you to be able to relate to them. So if they want sympathy, give it to them. It is as simple as that. It is part of the human nature. Sympathy, the human species, universally craves. We all crave sympathy, right? But for me, not the kind of sympathy that I don't know. All right. So if you want to win people to your way of thinking, put in practice the act of giving them what they want. Right. So don't forget principle 9. Be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. And try to do it sincerely. Put yourself in the person's shoes. If you are the one who just lost your job, and then somebody is trying to irritate you or get you angry, of course, you're hurting already. So there's every probability that you will shout, you will scream, you can throw caution to the air, you can say some insulting words and all of that, because you're hurting, right? So put yourself in that shoe. And then if somebody does that, try to reason with them that, oh, it's because of what he's going through. Maybe she's not in a bad mood. Maybe you woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. I'm so sorry for making you feel this way. If I were in your shoes, I'll probably do the same thing, If you come across to people like this, it will die down every form of rancor or argument. that can ensue between both of you. Right. Thank you so much. That'll be all for tonight. Don't forget to like this video, share your comments with me, and please subscribe to this channel in case you are yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbajoye, also known as First Lady, and on this channel, I inspire you to live intentionally. I'll come your way again tomorrow by God's grace as we review chapter 10 of part 3, which says an appeal that everybody likes. Until then, be intentional.